Good morning, everybody. Hope you are having a beautiful week, that it's been blessed, that you are finding a lot of little Holy Spirit love nuggets in your week, and that you've enjoyed our lives this week. If you didn't catch it, I'm just going to tell you right now, Tuesday was one of our best chapters yet. So Tuesday we did chapter 12. It was all about the faith over fear, bumper sticker, slapstick comment, and how we can truly walk in faith over fear. Like, it is the action step, and it was so good. And then yesterday I did a live with you guys where I shared a secret I've been holding on to for 6 months. And in sharing it, I shared really the entire testimony of the journey that led to that open door, the door that God opened. So it's just been a really good, powerful week, power-packed week of lives this week. And if you did not catch Tuesday's chapter, or if you did not catch Wednesday's live, please go back and watch those, because they were some of the best ones we've done. And like I mentioned before, I also have a YouTube channel, Shannon Singh Ministries. Later this morning, I will be uploading everything to make sure that we are up to date on that. But if you ever want to go back and watch a replay, good morning. That is a really great way to catch the replays, is if you subscribe to that YouTube channel, because it's a little bit easier than scrolling back through my Facebook page and finding these lives. So today we're diving into chapter 13. If you're new here, these are our Tuesday and Thursday coffee dates, reading through the book, A Time to Dance, Chasing Joy in Difficult Seasons. We are actually officially halfway through the book, which may seem kind of crazy, because on one hand, it's like, I can't believe we're already halfway through the book. And on the other hand, it's like, wow, we're only halfway through the book. We still got so much more to go. Today's chapter is on sharing the journey. For some of you, this may come easier. For me, it was very challenging to share the journey at first, because when you've been deeply hurt, sometimes it's easier to go back into that safe space, that comfortable space, that hole, and keep everything in, because it feels very, very vulnerable to share the journey with others. And so God really, this is a space that he started working on in my heart, teaching me the importance of sharing the journey with others, of not trying to carry everything alone. And believe it or not, it's not just about, the idea that we're supposed to allow others in so that they can help us walk through this. It's also because God has a purpose in sharing your journey for you to pour over onto others and to help them. So sharing the journey not only is a space where you get uplifted, but it's a space where others get uplifted as well. So we're going to deep dive into chapter 13, sharing the journey. But I hope you guys enjoy this chapter, but I really, really want to encourage you to go back and listen to Tuesday's chapter number 12 and Wednesday's, big reveal of my secret, because it's not so much about the secret itself. It's about the way that God orchestrated the journey, that he had every step laid out ahead of me, and that every Moses moment that I faced, that I said yes to, led me to this door that God opened. And he's just so good. He's just so faithful. And even when we cannot see for ourselves the way through, the thing inside of us that he placed, he is faithful to reveal that in us. And so I hope you guys go back and watch that Wednesday Zoom. But I'm going to deep dive into chapter 13, drinking my coffee this morning. Again, if you're new here, we do this totally makeup free. Wake up, get our coffee, and read through a chapter. We have no veil of perfection over here. It's just come as you are and be loved. So here we go. Chapter 13, share the journey. Friends, I know how tender your heart can feel, easily recoiled back into its safe space when you sense that you don't line up with what the world has said you should be. I know that although life is full of humbling moments, the most painful ones usually involve a gross exposure of our cracks, flaws, and imperfections to the world. I recently went through an experience that left me feeling wide open, exposed, and very vulnerable. I first fought the desire to crawl into a hole. Then I fought the urge to act like everything was fine. Both options, either option really, would have ultimately left me feeling empty. I knew that. But regardless of what I knew to be true, deep down, it didn't change what I felt in that moment. My heart was desperately crying out for the hole, the safe place to hide. And my pride, it roared with need for the lie, that everything was fine, that I wasn't impacted, that I was good. It didn't affect me. Why? Because when this kind of gross exposure happens, society tells us to immediately shift into damage control. The message is clear. Hide your imperfections and cover up the pain with lies. Wear a smile, act like nothing's wrong, act like you're winning. You're coming out on top. You're winning. Don't let anyone see your vulnerability. Don't let them see you crack, because if they see it, it gives them power over you. That's what the world tells us. And when we listen to this advice of the world, we find ourselves so busy trying to avoid further damage and save face that we often feel a very real and terrifying internal struggle when we even consider another option, one that would allow someone into that very vulnerable place that we have grown to protect so well. And worse, we lose out on a huge opportunity to be uplifted and poured into by others during our own personal healing journey. You see, I knew that there was another option, one outside the choices of shame-induced hiding or pride-filled saving face. So I'm going to pause there just for a moment, because I think it's important we recognize the root behind these options. So option number one was to hide, to tuck myself away, to not allow myself to be vulnerable to anybody. And what God began to reveal in me is that knee-jerk reaction was due to shame. And shame is not something God ever wants us to carry. Shame is not of Him. Option number B was to act like everything's fine. I'm winning. Let's admit this right here. When someone hurts us deeply, how many of us are like, psh, didn't affect me. Yeah, you have fun with that. Didn't hurt me. And then we go home at night and we allow those feelings to really touch us. Or maybe we don't. Either way, that is saving face. And saving face is pride. And pride is also not God's heart for us. So there had to be another option. And that option is healing. That option is bringing it to God and letting Him fill us with grace, love, hope, joy, peace, all of His goodness. You see, I knew that there was another option, one outside the choices of shame-induced hiding or pride-filled saving face. But I also knew that option C would not come easily for me because it brought with it even more vulnerability. The kind of vulnerability that paralyzed me with fear. The kind of fear that would shoot roots into the ground and effectively anchor me to whatever feeling or season I was facing because I just couldn't bring myself to move forward. But God, I argued, if I let anyone in, they will witness the complete clutter and chaos behind my mask, the absolute disaster that I truly am. And the mere thought of that and the rejection it would inevitably bring was more than my broken heart could bear. But the truth is that nobody witnesses your clutter and chaos with such absolute clarity as Jesus. Nobody sees your messy, your shame, your insecurities, and your mistakes like He does. And I'll say it again, He can not only see the evidence of your imperfections, He can see your heart and all the things you try so hard to hide away. And yet, hear this, He still runs to you. He scoops you up in His arms and He says, my child, I love you. You are beautiful, you are mine, and I choose you. And suddenly we're reminded once again, as many times as it takes, that we are loved deeply and unconditionally. That when we begin to feel that familiar panic rise up, the fear of judgment from those around us, we need only to take a moment, listen for his voice, and solidly re-anchor our identity in him. Just him, just Jesus. The truth is, anchoring my value, listen to this, it's so important. Anchoring my value to anything or anyone other than God exposes every part of my identity to the potential for soul-crushing cycles of instabilities and insecurity. This is so true. Like when we anchor our value to the words of others, to the opinions of others, to the thoughts of others, then we set ourselves up for these soul-crushing cycles of insecurity. And I was trapped in that for 30 plus years. Like, I don't know if this is the chapter. I really hope it is. There is a chapter in here where I talk about, so I'm going to give away a sneak peek, okay? I talk about that what God revealed to me was my identity used to be like a piece of putty that I would carry into a room. And I would start handing it to people. And I would say, tell me who I am, shape me, mold me, tell me my value, right? And then I would go home at night, and that's what I would carry in my spirit is this person thinks I'm this person thinks I'm worth this person values me this much. And it was like this soul crushing cycle of instability because I didn't know who I truly was. And when I began to anchor my value, my identity, and who God said I was, suddenly it freed me from that continuous cycle of just being hurt over and over and over. And when I began to fall into that familiar trap again of thinking that my value, my worth is whatever someone else says it is, I have to go back to that space and go, no, because this is who God says I am. So we have to begin to walk in our true identity in him and let go of the opinions of others, even those that love us deeply, because they can be walking through a season of hurt and they can get it wrong, but God will never get it wrong. God will never call you anything other than loved, cherished, and his. He may correct you, but even in the Bible, it says he is always correcting you in love because he adores you and because he wants the best for you. And that is why he walks you through moments of correction so that he can realign you with who he says you are and get you on the path to walking where he's guiding you. All right, so here we go, back in the chapter. Let me pick up where I was at. Okay, here we go. I know this because I have had my own painful struggles with identity for a very long time, which we will beautifully explore more deeply in chapter 15. But here's the key I want to touch on for the purpose of this chapter. When we stand on the truth of who we are in God, no longer defined by the decisions, judgments, actions, or words of others, it suddenly gives us the courage and strength to allow real vulnerability to flow again. When we deeply secure and anchor ourselves in him, and then allow that solid foundation of who he says we are to hold our hearts safe, it frees us to let down the veil of perfection, tear down the walls of protection, and beautifully extend and receive the life-giving and joy-giving messages of God's hope, healing, and love with one another. And it's time, my friends, time to share the journey. Share the beautiful, share the hard, share how he helped you, share how he saved you, share how he met you right where you were and wrapped his arms around you. Share your healing, share your joy, share your dancing, just share. While I pondered on this word share, I was reminded of a time at my parents' farm recently. The grandkids were playing together by the campfire, making big circles with some sparklers that we brought along for fun. And as they began to troubleshoot how to most efficiently light them, I heard the oldest grandchild say to the younger ones, "Here, use mine to light yours." And it hit me. Use mine to light yours. Because when we share his blessings, when we share his love and his heart, it sparks something inside one another. When we share our difficult, we open the door for others to love us through it, lift us up in prayer, and support us through the painful seasons of the journey, just as he intended. And when we find our joy again, we are invited to share the story of how, by the grace and love of Jesus, we overcame. We were never meant to carry any of it, and especially not all of it alone. Likewise, we were never meant to dance alone. But there is a freeing yet often difficult and terrifying truth behind this idea, and it is this: we cannot truly minister to each other's hearts from behind the veil of perfection. Hear this, please. We cannot save face or hide our true selves away and simultaneously walk fully through his calling to lift and love on one another. I don't know about you, but my heart has never allowed rest, vulnerability, and healing to flow with a friend that speaks from the pulpit of perfection. I want to read that line again, because I think it's important that you understand that when we hide behind the veil of perfection, we are not only keeping ourselves from walking in community, we are keeping ourselves from being able to pour over onto others. Because when we walk in the veil of perfection, we feel untouchable to others. We feel like, I can never be like her. I can never be as perfect as her. And it not only doesn't allow people to draw close to us and God to pour through us and onto them, but it also creates this situation where sometimes it even discourages others, because you have this veil, you have this false front that says, I've got it all pulled together. And it discourages them because they're like, why can't I do that? Why can't I be more like that? And so when we lay down the veil of perfection and we are willing to open up and share in our imperfections, it actually creates space for others to not only come as they are, but also to see what God is trying to show them, that nobody is perfect. And God invites us. He invites us. He loves it when we come just as we are to be loved, and then pour that over onto others. So I'm going to read this again. Okay. I don't know about you, but my heart has never allowed rest, vulnerability, and healing to flow with a friend that speaks from the pulpit of perfection. No, to the contrary, my heart has opened up and allowed life-giving hope to reach some of my deepest cracks and crevices from the friend that says, I've been there. My life is not perfect. I often feel very broken, and I struggle too. Sometimes I even fall flat on my face, but here is what God has been teaching me. So if someone spoke to you from the pulpit of perfection, I've got it all pulled together, versus someone said, you know what? I've been there. I'm still there. Some days I fall flat on my face, and here's what God's showing me. Which one speaks to you more? And we not only need to seek that, we also need to be that. We need to walk that out. And with that message and God's nudge, the torch has been passed to me. I have the same power through him to touch others, to share my journey, share my difficult seasons, and share how God healed me with his love and his grace. But it requires one vitally important and sometimes scary and difficult commitment from me. I cannot fully embrace his calling on my heart unless I am willing to be imperfect, made perfect by his love. I hear from a lot of people, how did you share some of the things you shared in this book? How did you share how God was really just a checkbox to you, that he was insignificant to you? How do you say that without hiding? How do you talk about some of your most vulnerable moments, which go far deeper than that I share in this book? How do you do it? Because I see the value. I see that it helps others, that it touches others in their space of the most vulnerability, and it allows them to feel seen, feel heard, and feel loved in that space. And to me, that is more important than saving face. It's so much more important, because my identity is anchored in God. And God doesn't call me anything but loved and cherished, even in those moments when I share my most ugly parts and pieces. Will others use the opportunity to mock, gossip, and hurt me? Will others use what they read in here to mock, gossip, and hurt me? Absolutely. You better know it. In fact, I have learned to expect it because the enemy loves to think that he can kill your spirit and the calling on your heart with the words, actions, and opinions of others. You better believe it. You better believe it. The enemy's going to come after you. But here's where the enemy greatly underestimates me. My identity is now strongly and securely anchored to God, and my heart is held completely safe in his steadfast and loving hands. You see, the enemy doesn't stand a chance at breaking me when Jesus is the one who holds me. Yes, we have to anchor in that. And the beautiful blessings and promises that come from walking in the path laid before me by my Heavenly Father will deem the enemy's attacks simply futile. So with a calling on our hearts and a commitment to the one who loves us so much that he holds us through the valleys, cries with us in the storms, and lifts us up to find peace and hope in his promises again, let's use our life to be his message. Friends, one day we're going to be gone, and there's no information or promise as to what day that is, but what will be your life message? Will it be, wow, she was so perfect, I wish I could be more like her? Or will it be, wow, she was a walking example, the hands, heart, and feet of Jesus, and she met people where they were, and she shared her vulnerabilities, and she reached out and grabbed others, and she pulled them in and pointed them to Jesus. Ooh, I don't know if you guys were here for the dream I shared last year, but actually it was a year ago now. I need to share that again at some point because it was a powerfully prophetic dream about the power of holding others and being a part of their healing. And then I just have to share the whole dream with you, but then turning them towards the one who loves them most and watching them walk towards his heart. Oh, it was so good. Oh, okay. Okay, we'll keep going. Let's drop the veil of perfection and allow life-giving love, his love, to pour through our story as we share it with others. Let's be a witness to his power as he uses us to bless and lift one another. Use my light right here in this moment to light yours. And if you feel led, share back and light mine again. Because I may be in ministry, but you have no idea how much it lights me up when you share back, when you comment, when you share a vulnerability, when you share a breakthrough. It lights mine again. And if I share mine and you share yours, imagine the power of healing and joy that can reach beyond just you and me. Imagine what God can do with our messages and our stories. Imagine what mountains he can move with our faith. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be plastered on the walls for all to see. But today I invite you to tune into the Holy Spirit and ask him where he wants you to share. Whatever season you are in, whatever blessings or hardships you face, find a heart you could trust and share what God is doing in your life. Light each other, lift each other. The healing that you experience through sharing your story, the hope, peace, and joy that he pours into you as you rise and reach out to bring others with you will be absolutely life-changing. So that's the end of chapter 13. And here's a thought I want to leave you with. Here's the idea. Sometimes the way we've been taught to witness to others is not the most reflective of God's heart. There we go. That's a good way to put it. Sometimes the way we've been taught to witness to others is not the most reflective of God's heart. But God calls on us to walk in the journey together with love. So I truly believe that when we share our breakdowns, our breakthroughs, our victories, our vulnerabilities, when we share with others the journey, love and no veil of perfection can be one of the most powerful places of testimony, of reflection of God's heart, and of showing others who our God really is. We don't necessarily show others who our God is by talking about how perfect we are and how perfect we're supposed to be. We share our God with others by saying, look at what an incredible God loved me through the breakdown, held me in the broken moments where I wasn't at my best, loved me in the spaces where I was pretty unlovable, and launched me into a place where my brokenness and my ashes became my victory and my breakthrough. That is where we become the hands, heart, and feet of Jesus, is when we are willing to set down that veil of perfection and share from that space where our life message, our life story reflects on the goodness and the faithfulness of the Father who has held us through it all and who is still holding us through it all. Because here's what's going to happen. He's going to start using you in some powerful, powerful places. And it doesn't stop till you take your last breath. And hopefully, here's my prayer. My prayer is that my life message goes beyond my last breath. That my life message continues a ripple effect beyond my last breath. Not because it's about me, but because it means I had an impact that is changing the world and that is rippling through and building God's kingdom and showing people how loved he really is. Because let me tell how loved they really are, because the enemy is loud. The enemy is so loud. But when we join our voices together, we drown him out. And I want my voice to carry on in the army, in the kingdom army, long after I take my last breath. But in order to do that, I have to use my voice now. And it doesn't mean you have to have a podcast or a blog or anything. You can use your voice in all kinds of spaces. And when you use it with God's heart, it is going to create a ripple effect where that person then uses it and that person then uses it. We are, in essence, sharing God's heart, and then that creates a ripple effect where they then do it, and they then do it with love. So that's chapter 13. Next week, Tuesday, is chapter 14. This is a little bit of a difficult chapter. Chapter 14 is the painful whys of loss. So, I really didn't feel like I could journey through this book without addressing loss. That is a big part of, it's just a very vulnerable space with God. And sometimes we don't have all the answers, and we don't have to have all the answers. One of the things that I am very much learning in my journey with God is that, we're not supposed to be the ones that are all knowing and all full of wisdom and all this. Just because God gives us words of wisdom does not mean that we have the full picture and we know everything. And I think that's where some of us get trapped, is that maybe we feel like that unless we have all the answers, we can't be out there. And it's a very freeing truth that we are not meant to. Like that when we need wisdom, we seek God. When we need to understand something, we seek him. And then he pours that discernment and that wisdom into us. But we are not expected to walk with all the answers. And it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say there are some things that I don't understand. Or even that there are some mysteries that I don't understand, because I don't think we'll ever understand all of it this side of heaven. Will we understand all of it the other side of heaven? I don't know. There we go. I don't know, right? But chapter 14 next week, we're going to dive into the painful whys of loss. I hope you guys have an incredible weekend. Again, I just wanted to say this at the tail end. Let's see, I'll do 3 reminders. Number 1, if you don't mind dropping an emoji or a comment, it helps the algorithms know that these are worth keeping here and worth sharing with others. So that's number 1. Number 2, I do have a YouTube channel where I'm dropping all the replays. If it's easier than going back and scrolling, you can go out there to Shannon Singh Ministries and you can subscribe and you can watch the replays there. And finally, number 3, we did 3 lives this week, which is kind of not typical. But I really encourage you to go back, because Tuesday's live was really, really good. It was all about the faith over fear bumper sticker. and how to actually kind of peel that away, and how God taught me to actually walk in faith over fear, like the action steps that I needed in order to truly walk in that. And then Wednesday was my big reveal of a secret that I really just don't want you guys to miss. So thank you. Have an amazing weekend. I'm really looking forward to mine. Although I will tell you, I don't know about you guys, but this week after the end of the holidays, it's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit of crazy town. Like I've just got a lot to catch up on. So I'm plowing, but I'm looking forward to a beautiful and blessed weekend, and I hope you do too. Bye now.